Well, Casey, thank you very much for joining us. It's a pleasure to have you with us today. I want to start by talking about all the travel that you've done just this year. In the first 6 months of the year, you had national team games in Portugal in February, then you traveled back to the States. Then just a month later, you're back in Korea for more friendly games, then back to the States again. A few weeks later, back out to Indonesia for the under 17 Asian Cup, back to the States, and of course, traveling all around the country for the NWSL as well. How do you deal with all that travel, and what's your best tip to deal with jet lag?
Yeah, for sure. It's like a big part of the game. I think I've noticed jet lag has affected me more like these past few years than it ever has. So I think with traveling a lot, I've developed a set routine because I'm usually going to Asia, so the flight time's always the same. So I eat before and then I sleep, and I sleep through the whole flight, and then I just wake up. And then it helps me a lot, but I think I've developed a good skincare routine on the planes also. So I think for like each individual person, certain things work best for you. So just to find one thing that really helps you get over jet lag. And for me, that's a lot of water and a lot of melatonin. So
You're still copying the jet lag though, especially when you return to the States as well.
yeah, I think some trips are worse than others. I think the Portugal trip affected me really badly, but then the one back to Korea was fine. Like I didn't feel anything then. So it really kind of varies, but
I'm sure you're used to trips back to Korea given your childhood as well. So it's been about 6 months now since you signed with Angel City. How have you settled into life in Los Angeles?
yeah, I love LA. Honestly, it's a beautiful city, and one of my favorite parts about it is the huge Korean population and community. So I go to Koreatown like twice a week with my mom, and it's just there's so much to do there, and there's like everything that you could need and anything you could buy in Korea, you can buy here, which is really nice. And just the weather's beautiful always, and I have really good friends here also, so it's just been great.
Can't complain about the weather, that's for sure. What's the best thing that you've discovered about the city? What's the favorite thing that you like to do when you get some downtime, if you get some downtime? What are you doing with your spare time in LA?
Well, I live in Westlake Village, so we're really close to Malibu, which I like. I love it there. And a lot of my friends on my team, they go to the beach a lot. So Point Doom, I've discovered, and I think it's really beautiful and it's a really fun place to just hang out with my friends when we have a day off.
Yeah. Well, if any of our listeners head to the World Cup in a couple of years' time, hit up Casey for some travel advice. You had your 17th birthday recently too, so happy birthday. What does Casey do for her 17th birthday in LA?
I actually didn't do anything because I forget we had training that day, but my dad and my brothers flew out and we just had dinner, but it was really like relaxed, I think.
A low key 17th. If we rewind the clock 12 months, could you ever imagined, or perhaps even slightly more than 12 months, could you ever have imagined that this is where your life would be now, playing at a Women's World Cup, signing for the biggest club in the NWSL, one of the biggest women's football clubs in the world? It must feel like a dream at times. What's happened to your life in the last 12 months?
I mean, yeah, like a year ago, I was playing for PDA and we were getting ready for playoffs. And now, or then, I was at the World Cup playing against some of the best players in the world. So it definitely did feel like a dream at times, but playing in a Women's World Cup and being professional has always been one of my dreams. So I'm super happy to have accomplished that now, but I was for sure not expecting to accomplish it so soon.
Mm. It's hard to forget sometimes that you still are only 17 years. Such has been the rapid rise. It almost feels like you've been around for so long now. So coming into this season when you were still only 16 when the season started, as I said, signing for such a huge club, what were your goals and aspirations coming into this season, keeping in mind that, as I said, you still only were 16?
My goal really was just to come in and learn as much as I could every single day and just develop the best that I could in this environment and really just help the team in any way that I could with whatever they need me to do.
Mm. And how's it going so far? How has that learning curve been? Has it been a steep learning curve coming from PDA into a professional setup?
Yeah, for sure. There's a lot to still learn with being a professional and being in that environment. But I think the environment that I'm in and the people that I have around me has really helped me develop and grow as both a player and a person. So I think Angel City has really helped me become or be on a good track to become that professional player that obviously they see in me and invested in me.
Mm. You mentioned about becoming a better player and a better person. It's fair to say yours isn't a typical life of a 17-year-old. How much have you had to grow up over the last 12 months, given everything that's happened?
Yeah, obviously there's been like a huge change, and I think one of the biggest things that I've learned about growing up or had to have grown up is my family split up for me to play at Angel City. So I'm living with just my mom and my dog here in LA. And then my brothers and my dad live in New Jersey. So we've moved a lot while I was growing up, but I think this is the first time we've really had to split up and live like in two separate places. So I think I've really just had to grown up or had to like adapt to living with just my mom and not like my whole family, which has been really new, but I've had a really great support system both in my family and then my teammates and my friends with the people I have around me. So I think they've really helped me adapt to that change and grow up as a person.
Do you still get time to be a teenager, to be a 17-year-old?
Yeah, I think so. Giselle Thompson is one of my closest friends here, and she's only 18. So I think when we hang out together, where it's like we're going to the mall or we're going to the beach, I think when I'm with her off the field, it really just feels like we're two friends just hanging out, and we're not both young professional soccer players, which is really nice because I feel like it's very unique to have so many players in a similar situation, which is why I think Angel City is a really great fit for young players because we have so many young players and it just helps you really adapt to that change.
I mentioned what's happened over the last 12 months. How have you managed to deal with that pressure? Because there was huge hype surrounding your appearance at the Women's World Cup. I was here. I remember it well, becoming the youngest ever player. And then, of course, signing for such a big club like Angel City. And I know when that was first announced, there were appearances. I saw you at a Clippers game. There were meet and greets, interview sessions like this one. It's a lot of pressure for anyone to handle, let alone a 16, 17-year-old. So how do you handle the pressure and what's your release to get away from it all?
So regarding the World Cup, I think there was a huge hype just with me being so young and being there. But I think one of the biggest things or people that helped me was Colin Bell, who's the coach at that World Cup, because he did a really great job of keeping me away from all the media. So I just did like one or two leading up to the actual like games. I did a couple after, but I he really helped me just stay away from it all and focus on the task at hand, which was playing soccer, I guess. And so I think then he really helped me. And now being at Angel City, obviously Angel City is a really big club in the NWSL with a lot of media coverage. So I think just the support system that I talked about before, the people that I have around me really just help keep me focused on the task that I have at hand, which is just to play soccer. But I also have school, so when I'm away from soccer, I have a lot of things that help like distract me from it, so I'm not like overthinking about soccer. And I think online school is the biggest thing that keeps me busy because it's just like it's never ending. Like I just finished my first semester in April and now I'm in my second semester, but it feels like it's just like constantly school. So I think that really helps keep a good balance, but then also it helps me make me still feel like a 17-year-old because obviously 17-year-olds are going to school. So I really like having that as an option and just yeah.
If Lamine Yamal has to do his homework during the Euros, then Casey has to do her homework as well. You mentioned the school. How do you balance that between school and football? And what's the favorite subject that you have at school? If you weren't going to be a professional footballer, where do you think your career would take you in terms of a profession?
So I've actually never really realized this, but I really like math while doing online school. I think that's my favorite subject to do just because it's the easiest to learn on my own. So being an online school student, I've discovered that it's quite hard to do school on your own because I'm a pretty social person and like going to school was kind of like just fun for me to be able to see my friends and talk to people. So now that I don't have that, it's like my classmates are my mom and my dog, which is really different, but I've just really grown to like math a lot because it's always the same no matter like where you are and what you're doing. So just I really enjoy doing math online, but I think if I weren't a soccer player, I've always wanted to be an engineer or a doctor, so one of those two. But
There you go. Still plenty of time after your career's finished as well. You've spoken a lot about your family. As you said, you're living with your mum, your dad, and your brothers are on the other side of the country. Tell us about how important they have been in terms of a support and a network throughout your journey. How important has your family been?
so I think my family's really been like the backbone of my success as a professional soccer player and just my whole life they've given up so much to make me a better player. Like my mom always drove me an hour and a half to soccer practice when I was at FC Stars. And just my dad has also always taken me to private training and he's reached out to so many coaches like my whole life. And including we've had so many big moves for my soccer career. And we moved to New Jersey for me to play for PDA, and now we moved to LA for me to play for Angel City. So I think they've just always been there for me and always sacrificed so much for me. So I'm super grateful and really thankful for everything that they've done. And I believe that I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them. So I'm just really grateful for my family.
You've spoken in interviews in the past a lot about your Korean upbringing, going back to Korea a lot in your childhood and the time you've spent in the country. What are your memories of your time spent back in Korea, and what's the some of the favorite memories or the favorite places that you like to visit?
So one of my biggest memories of being in Korea as a child was when I was in first grade. I did about 6 months of school in Korea. So that was very different than American school for sure. The culture is really different. But it was just it was really fun. It was hard because I wasn't used to eating Korean food when I was in first grade, and so it would be like octopus for lunch, and then the Korean culture is like you have to eat everything on your plate or else you can't leave. So I think I really just had to sit through it, and even if I wasn't used to eating their food or that food that they would serve, I would just eat it, and I think that's really big in Korean culture, like not wasting, just respecting your elders. So I think that helped me a lot. But I also had a lot of fun when I was in Korea. So I lived with my mom there, and then I stayed at my grandmother's house. And so what's cool about my grandmother's apartment is that there's like this street with a bunch of convenience stores and bakeries, which I love growing up. And every time I go back for national team, I spend like a couple days to a week with my grandmother. And so just it it's so different from both New Jersey and LA, where like you're in a house in a neighborhood, whereas in Korea, you're in an apartment and there's so much to do around. So I really enjoyed that, having like the freedom to go out and get like a piece of bread, which is bread is so good in Korea. So I just really liked that. And her house is probably one of my favorite places in Korea in general. Like I love to visit her, and her cooking is, I think, the best, just better than restaurants. So I really like to go back to Korea and see her.
Is it Seoul? Is it Seoul that your family's from?
She lives in Anyang, which is like just outside of Seoul, but it's pretty close. So
And if she's cooking you up your favorite meal, what's your favorite Korean food now?
I think my taste buds have changed because before I would say kimchi jjigae, which is like kimchi stew, but now I really like kimchi jjim, which is like melted kimchi and like pork, or I don't know what the meat is, but it's just like all melted together and it's so good with rice. So that's my favorite Korean food as of recently.
Lovely. Just one or two to finish up on. Let's talk about the Women's World Cup that we mentioned before. You were just 15 when the squad was actually named, turned 16 just before the tournament. How do you look back on that experience now? It's almost been a year since that tournament. How do you look back and reflect now?
I mean, it's definitely like an experience that I'll never forget, an experience of a lifetime. And I'm truly just really proud looking back on it to have represented my country and to have played in those games. It definitely felt like a dream. And looking back on it, I'm just like, wow, I get so on Snapchat you get like memories. So I like see like all the pictures from back then and I'm just like I feel like I've grown so much as a person and I really think of the World Cup as like a starting point of my career, but also a memory and an experience that I'll never forget. And I'm really happy to have made my family proud and hopefully my country proud as well. So it's definitely a dream come true.
Absolutely. And then, so looking forward then to the next World Cup, and you've got an Asian Cup in 18 months, which will be here in Australia again. The news recently, unfortunately, obviously, someone you spoke about before, Colin Bell, departed the team. So Korea's looking for a new head coach. Now, as you look ahead to the next Asian Cup, of course, made the final last time around, and the next World Cup, where does the Korean women's national team need to improve to sort of bridge that gap between where you are now and sort of the best teams, Japan, Australia, in Asia, and then being able to compete on the world stage again in I was going to say it's in America, but it's not. It's in Brazil for the next World Cup.
I mean, for starters, I really just want to give respect to Colin. I think he really has such a huge impact on my career. He's one of the first people to truly believe in me, and he made me believe in myself that I could play at that level. So I just am very thankful for him. But yeah, that's just how soccer works, and you're always going to have a new coach. So I think looking forward, we just really want to build from where we left off, which was the USA camp. I think we could have done a little bit better, but some parts we showed that we can compete with some of the best teams in the world. So I think looking forward, our next camp will probably be in like October or November. So no matter who the coach is, I know the foundation of the team and the federation will not change, and our team has really great players. So I think just building from where we've left off and hopefully have a good showing at the Asian Cup is what I hope for the future.
Well, Casey, thank you very much for your time this morning. Good luck with the rest of the season with Angel City, and good luck with your schooling. And hopefully, I'll see you back out here in Australia in 18 months' time.
Of course, thank you so much.